What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoundHound. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what is really moving it and where it might be going from here next. Before we get into any of that, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoundHound is down 3.6%, 933 the low, 997 the high, and relatively low volume. So 22 million shares being traded, 34 is the average. Algorithmic trading is definitely taking the majority of the volume today because on the secondary market and dark pool, you're not really seeing that much in transactions. And of the ones that you do see, majority are selling. So institutions are dumping today because of, it looks as though the States is going to be entering into that whole Middle East conflict between Israel and Iran. So that isn't that great. And I believe I actually just saw roughly 10-15 minutes ago Trump mentioning something about the US striking Iran any moment. So things are starting to heat up. So people are starting to assume again the worst, that World War III is going to be starting and everything else. But even on a data standpoint, we did have first thing retail sales coming in lower than the forecast. So came in at -0.9, forecast was -0.4. That was one of the attributing factors why a lot of stocks surprisingly moved higher this morning, because this easily does justify rate cuts. But of course, the geopolitical issues are overwhelmingly kind of taking over any level of optimism in the market. But as far as SoundHound specific stuff though, they did put out news, and that was this right here. So AI healthcare funding surges as real world rollouts hit pharmacies, hospitals, and providers. So this isn't specific to SoundHound. And even if we look back the last couple PRs, it's not really SoundHound specific. It's them just saying, hey, you know what, like the sectors that we are in are growing. They're relying more and more on AI. This is what we could capitalize on in the foreseeable future. So it's not really specific to SoundHound, but if you have a long-term mentality, you can kind of piece two and two together that they'll be able to kind of make some pretty good revenue based on this. Although one thing I did just notice was, as I've explained in the past, analysts can change their estimates without changing and giving a official rating, because there hasn't been any new official ratings from any analysts recently. But looking here, you see analysts have become a little bit more bearish on the foreseeable future, more specifically Q3 and onwards. So they are anticipating SoundHound to burn a little bit more cash through earnings per share. So they anticipate as far as misses. And for the revenue though, you can kind of see that not really much changes, small changes. So going from 44.39 to 44.36 million. So nothing overly crazy. It's more specifically associated to the earnings per share. That's where analysts are assuming SoundHound is going to miss on. So kind of interesting to see as far as that. But on social media, you do see that they are actually having some kind of conferences. So they are having some speeches. And this is one thing that I did kind of complain about in the past, is that a lot of their posts are oriented towards customers, not shareholders. So you do have this. So this is coming out on the 24th. Then they have this one right here. So this is between June the 18th and 19th. I don't believe that this one is going to be webcast. So you have to actually be there in person, which is unfortunate. But nonetheless, though, it goes to show that they're doing some additional things behind the scenes. Still no substantial direct catalyst, though, unfortunately. But when it comes down to shorts, they are returning roughly 20,000 shares today. 33.1% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 120.7 million shares overall being shorted. So we've seen this happen in the past when the whole tariff kind of scenario in April caused the market to go down. Shorts just sit back and they just let the market do its thing, because you have algorithmic trading really pushing down SoundHound, and then you also do have institutions largely selling. So not much buying going on, so shorts don't really have to kind of exert much effort. They just sit back and relax. Once SoundHound does start to make a potential recovery, whether it be in the next couple trading days or whenever that is, that's usually when shorts do increase. But with it right now at 33.1% of the free float, we are at a all-time high short interest. And this is something I did mention in my last video. I think it was on Friday. It's been a while since I've done a SoundHound video. My apologies on that. But I believe on Friday I did say in the first half of this week, we most likely will be seeing that hit. So it's kind of crazy. So it is what it is though. But as far as options, 2.1 million in calls, 497,000 in puts. Despite everything, you are still seeing a certain level of bearishness. So 46% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. Of the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around that 9.50 to 10. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub $9. So they're anticipating for the fear to continue and for SoundHound and many others to really get suppressed. In reality, I do feel the make it or break it point in the market is going to be if the states does join into that whole conflict / war, or whatever you want to call it, or if they kind of just sit back and just add some additional aid to Israel. So it's going to come down to the states and what they are going to be doing, whether it does hit what the bulls or the bears are anticipating. But as far as right now with that 933, it is trading between this pivot and this S1. So 897 is going to be a strong support. 955 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So kind of just watch for that. Secondary level is going to be 1012. So the high for today was 997. So just watch for, in at least the foreseeable future, if there is a recovery, for that 1011 to be hit. Aside from that, like I said, other than analysts kind of doing this, there hasn't been any new ratings. No articles even coming out about SoundHound, so it is just simply piggybacking off of the broader market. So you just need things to get better on that scope. But today does also mark more of a kind of consolidation occurring, because it is below that 50-day moving average. And that is a very big deal for SoundHound. Every time it does break below that, usually results in like a 30% swing down, as what we saw in February. So it went from roughly $15 to kind of a low of, I wouldn't really consider that, so roughly around that $9 range. So you do see a lot of moves, and same happens when it breaks above it, right? You see a nice push higher. So the fact that we are now below it does insinuate that we might be seeing that mid-8s to potentially kind of the high 7s. Again, I brought up, I believe it was mid last week, what the elite wave technicals are projecting. So I think at the end of the day, if you believe in SoundHound, take advantage of these prices. But if you are a day trader, swing trader, then it might be advantageous just to kind of cycle out into a little bit more safer, or potentially cash, until we see a clear trajectory of what is coming. But again, if you're looking to average down, just kind of take a mental image of a lot of these support levels, as that's usually where SoundHound's been kind of following as well, the technicals. So as far as right now, 897 is going to be the next one, followed by 862. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. I know a lot of people are relatively frustrated because management doesn't seem to be doing all that much, but it's I think any innovative sector and company, it takes time. Palantir, as I've compared them in the past, Palantir took a long time for people to accept them. Even still, despite it going up as much as it has, you have a lot of analysts and individuals not believing Palantir is worth where it is. So I think it's just a waiting game, but unfortunately that's one of the hardest things for investors to do, is to be patient. So let me know your viewpoint on SoundHound. Are you buying? Are you selling? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I do give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look though. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.